Good morning, Athens, and welcome to Education Matters, celebrating 15 years as the official voice of youth. Education Matters is sponsored by Drug Free Athens, helping to prevent substance abuse by youth, Ellison's Professional Services. When it comes to your tax return, go with who you know, Ellison's Professional Services, and your local internet station, MeetYouRadioAthens.com. My name is Aiden Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Battery,
Nivea Hood,
and Aiden Dowdy.
Today on Education Matters, we will be discussing the election and runoff processes with our guest, Ms. Pamela Long. Ms. Pamela Long is the elections director for Athens-Clarke County. She has worked in the county's elections department since 2014. But before we start today's discussion, Nivea will give us our words to grow on.
John Lewis said, "The vote is precious. It's the most powerful, nonviolent tool we have in a democratic society." John Lewis frequently shared this message throughout his public service career, especially during voting rights events and commemorations of the civil rights movement.
Also, before we jump into today's show, Aiden will give us our history fact.
Your history fact is the African Americans and the Voting Rights Act. In August 6, 1965 at Washington, D.C., the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed into law by Lyndon B. Johnson after years of activism by African Americans and civil rights organizations. The law outlawed literacy tests and other discriminatory practices that prevented many black citizens from voting as a result. Voter registration among African Americans increased dramatically across the South, helping strengthen the political representation and civic participation for future generations. And that was your history fact.
So, Ms. Long, before we jump into all the stuff about elections, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your role as the elections department chair and what inspired you to work in election administration.
Okay, my role as the election director is just to oversee the entire election process. That starts from registration and it goes to the actual voting process when it takes place. And what drew me to elections is I actually went to vote one day, and I just liked how everything was set up, how the people were at that actual polling location, and I inquired about it, and I started out as a poll worker, and now I have worked my way up to being the elections director.
So how has that so far worked for you?
It's worked good for me, I believe, because it gave me the insight on how everything runs in the election department firsthand. Like I said, from working as a poll worker, being able to work out in the polling locations to see how that process goes, and then to be able to become a election clerk where I worked in the office and helped with the registration process, and then got promoted as the election assistant where I got to experience a little more about the election laws and how we proof ballots and how all the election process comes forward.
And while we're talking about election process, what is one part of the election process that most voters never see but should know about?
To be ensured that you know that your vote counts. A lot of people don't see that process, but you really have to know that yes, your vote does count. And one way I guess I can say that you can know that it did count once you submit your ballot into the scanner, it clicks and the number changes. So that lets you know also as well that your vote did count. But on the back end of it, once you're tallying up all the votes, that's the part that the public doesn't see, but you're more than welcome to come and view that process where we go in and we upload all the results for the election night.
And why do you think voting is important?
I believe voting is important because that gives you a chance to have a voice in this community. And I have a t-shirt that I like to wear that says voting is like a prayer, and it's like how you would want the world to be and how you would want it to live in. So that's why I believe voting is very important. If you don't vote, you don't have a say on how the world should be.
I love that.
Thank you.
So for people that don't vote, what do you do about that?
We try to encourage them. We have voter registration drives. that we host and we have. We try to go out to local churches, organizations, and we try to educate the people on how important it is to vote.
And what trends have you noticed in voter participation across Athens Clarke County?
We have, as of right now, we have a total of like over 80,000 registered voters, of which about 70,000 of them are active voters. That means that those voters have actually been participating in the elections. They're going out to vote, and they're keeping their records updated. Those that are in the inactive status, they're not participating at that time. So right now, like our voter turnout for the primary was like 33%. So we can do a whole lot better, Athens, in getting people to come out and having them to vote.
Okay, so then for voters who may not understand, why do runoff elections exist?
Runoff elections exist because when you have candidates on the ballot and neither one of those candidates received a certain percentage amount, so you have to get like 50% plus one, and no one actually received that 50% of votes. So the two highest candidates who got the highest numbers, those two will go onto the next ballot, and that's when they will go into a runoff.
What challenges do runoff elections present for voter participation in Athens?
What challenges? Can you kind of elaborate on that a little more? Like what challenges?
Like how do you actually encourage the voters
To come
vote?
back out for the
Yeah.
runoff?
Yes.
Yes, we do need to encourage the people to come out for the runoffs and that is a big challenge because most people, once they vote in like the primary election, they will not come back out and vote in the runoff. And exactly, as I stated earlier, you still need to come out and you need to vote in every election that's being held because your voice will be heard, and if your voice makes a difference. So we do encourage all, people to come back out again, on June, let me get my date right, election day, June 16th to vote, in the primary.
Hey, my birthday's 6 days after that.
So, for people that can't vote for more people that's disabled and the elderly, do you have other options for them?
Yes, we do. They can actually receive an absentee ballot by mail. So they can just fill out the application and the ballot will be mailed to them.
Okay, so how do they get the absent ballot?
They will have to apply. They have to fill out the application. They can come into the office. They can fill out the application there, or they can go online to, it's called Georgia My Voters page, and they can look up their voter information and they can request for the absentee ballot to come to them. And if they need assistance with, either way, online or in person, they can have someone to assist them to receive that request for the application.
Okay, so I want to know, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from this election cycle?
The biggest lesson I've learned from this election cycle is to make sure that we're always being transparent and being open in the election process, because there are so many people have so many theories about what they feel about elections, that they're not rigged, they're rigged, or that their vote didn't count or anything. So I think it's always important to be open and be transparent, and always having the people that want to come out at any time and to see the election process and see how it works. So they'll be sure to know that they can trust us with the election process.
And what are some of the most common misconceptions people have about elections?
That they're not fair, that their ballots didn't count, or some people feel that the electronic system is not working well. Some people feel that we should be on paper. So you have different views. Some feel like, yes, let's do electronic. Some people feel like we should do it by paper.
So, what safeguards are in place to ensure every voter cast is counted accurately?
As I stated, once the voter comes in and they cast their ballot in the scanner actually, like I said, clicks. If the first voter comes in, it starts off with 1. So let me go back to, so when we get ready for an election, we do what we call an LNA, that's logic and accuracy, and we're making sure that every machine is tested and that is ready for to be voted. So once we finish all the LNA, every machine that will be going out to the polling locations will start off with 0. So when the polling workers come in that day to start for election, they'll run a report, and that report at that morning should start off with 0. If it doesn't start off with 0, they need to give us a call, and we'll need to investigate as to why that machine has a count on it, because no machine should have an account when you're starting the election day. So as that day ends, for an example of 10 people come in that day, that should match with the scanner. It should match with the voting machines that they vote on, that we call our BMDs. So all these numbers should match. The polling pads where the voter checks in on, those numbers should match. Every number that we have should all be 10. So the next morning, when you come again, we're doing early voting, when they come in the next morning and they turn back on the machines, if they only had 10 votes, when they turn it on, it should be 10. So then if and every day it should progress, so you'll keep a number of those, votes that have been cast. So when it's time for us again, like I said, to do the tabulation of the votes and it's time to cast them, when we upload the votes and stuff, all those numbers should still match from every polling, every machine that has had a vote casted. So if it's something off, we got to go back. We need to look at it. We need to investigate why. Because you do have voters that come in and will not cast, won't make a vote. They just go in, do a blank ballot, don't know why, but come in and won't run it. So, there's no count for that particular ballot.
And what role do poll workers play in making sure elections run smoothly?
Poll workers, they make sure that the people are comfortable. They give them a actual peaceful, I say quiet environment. They ask them, do they have their driver's license or some form of ID when they come to vote. They check their registration and make sure that it's correct before they vote, that they're in the right place, that they do get the right ballot. And then, at the end, you get your little sticker, you've seen them, once they leave.
What are the qualifications when it comes to voting?
To be a registered voter, you have to be at least 17 and a half. You have to live in the county that you're registered in. You can't have any criminal background, and then you have to be able to be competent to vote.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be right back after a quick run of commercials.
Are you tired of living with foot or ankle pain? At the Foot and Ankle Treatment Center, we've been providing exceptional podiatric care for over 10 years. Whether it's custom orthotics, advanced laser treatment, diabetic foot exams, or heel pain relief, we've got you covered. We're dedicated to getting you back on your feet, pain-free. Conveniently located at the 2410 Hog Mountain Road in Watkinsville, Georgia. We're here to take you to the next step towards better foot health. Call Dr. Donovan Gowdy and his staff today at 706-312-4288 or visit our website at www.georgiapodiatrycenter.com. The Foot and Ankle Treatment Center, because your feet deserve the best care.
Stop scrolling. This takes 30 seconds. Open your Kroger app, search A-CC High School Completion Initiatives Incorporated, and hit enroll. That's it. You shop, we educate. Make your groceries count.
This is Drew Sarabia with an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug Free Athens. Myth: I can drink alcohol and not have any problems. Fact: if you are under 21 years old, alcohol is a big problem. It is illegal. Kids who drink are more likely to get poor grades in school and are at higher risk of being crime victims. That was an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug Free Athens. For more information on preventing youth substance abuse, go to drugfreeathens.org.
Let me show you how easy it is to give back. Open the Kroger app, tap the menu, go to rewards, then community rewards. Search for ACC High School Completion Initiative, Inc., and hit enroll. That's it. Now every time you use your Kroger Plus card, a portion goes towards helping local students finish high school. No extra cost, no extra effort, just real impact.
You're still here with Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. My name is Aiden Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Radley.
Nivea Hood.
Oh, Aiden Dowdy.
Today on Education Matters, we're still discussing the election and runoff processes with our guest, Ms. Pamela Long. But before we jump back into today's discussion, Michaela will give us our word of the week.
Word of the week. Your word is suffrage. Definition: the right to vote in political elections. Origin: the word suffrage comes from the Latin word suffragem, meaning a vote or support given in an election. Sentence: the struggle for a suffrage helps expand voting rights for many Americans throughout history.
Okay, so Miss Long. So, what advice would you give new voters when it comes to runoffs?
Advice I would give them is to make sure that they are prepared for this election, to make sure that their voter registration status is up to date. I would make sure that they would confirm their polling location where they need to go vote, for election day, because they can change, but they will not be changing on this election. And to make sure that they're bringing a valid photo ID at the time of voting.
And what is the biggest difference between a regular election and a runoff election?
The difference between a regular election is when all of the candidates are on the ballot, that they're for the.
You keep going.
Who's this? Yeah.
Okay, the general election that we just had, that has all the candidates who's going to run for a particular office on the ballot. So now what we're doing here is, like I say, with the runoff election, it's just basically where when no candidate, like I said, did receive the 50+1%, so those particular candidates who had the highest two turnouts would go now into another runoff election to see who would be the particular candidate that would take that particular office.
Can you share an example of how your team handled a complex election issue?
How our team handles a complex issue. First, I would see what the situation is, and then, like I said, I would hear the situation. Can you give me like an example of
what if
the
someone
situation?
Bought voters?
Someone
like an official or like someone running bought.
Like pay people off to vote for them?
Yeah.
And we found out about it?
Yeah.
So what we would do with that is I would gather all the information, and what we would do in that case, we would submit it to the Secretary of State board. So they would have to go before the board to hear a case, and it could be a possibility, or it could be bound over to like the Attorney General, and from there it could be a possible charges.
Oh wow.
So, what's a common misunderstanding that people get about like runoff elections?
Really not understanding, the process and not knowing that all people, all the candidates will not be on that particular ballot.
Okay, so what happens if a voter believes that there has been an error with their fallout?
They can come to the office and they can see me and we can, look at, the issue that they think that they vote. So you're asking if they think that their vote didn't count.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can go back and we can actually look and see their voter participation history and see if it did count or if it did not count.
Okay.
And how does your office prepare for a runoff election on a much shorter timeline?
Ooh, like this one?
Yeah.
Because the election was in May 19. So we just finished that. So once this election was over, we had to do what they call canvassing and computation. That just basically means we gather all the information, all the paperwork from this election to make sure that everything is correct and that all votes were counted. Then once we do that, now the state requires that we do what they call a ballot image audit. So what we do is we have all the ballots up on the screen, and we have a panel that we call the vote review panel that comes in as well, and they look at all these ballots to make sure that whatever the voter intended to vote was actually the correct selection. After we do that, what they call a risk limiting audit to make sure that every ballot that went through that scanner that counted, that it was accurate. And on this one, we was at 100%. So, yay!
No extra work for y'all. Yay!
So that's
That's a big word. Are you done? So how can community organizations, schools, and local media help improve voter participation?
By getting out and encouraging the people to vote. And if they need our help or support, they're more than welcome to call us, and we can give them information that they need, give them the registration forms, give them the business cards, for My Voters page, so that they can go in and they can research their voters' information.
Okay, so what if the runoff process, like what if the votes are low? Do you have to do it again?
No. Most of the time you go into a runoff is because, like, with this election, you had more than 2 people that are on the ballot. So, like, we had like 5 people that ran for mayor. Some of the other, commissioner seats had more than 2 people. So, in that chance, we kind of almost can forecast that we will have a runoff because we know won't nobody really receive that 50% or plus more because it's too many people on that particular ballot. So you have to, like I said, take the highest 2 and then you go into that runoff so the people can only vote for the 2 candidates that had the highest votes.
And how do candidates typically adjust their campaigns during a runoff period?
They continue to go out and, work in the community. I know there have been a couple of debates that have been going on right now, so that they can, let the voters know what their platform is and what they would do for the community.
So I want to know, what has been your favorite part about doing your job?
I believe my favorite part about doing my job is to ensure that, we are having fair and transparent elections and that the people can, continue to trust us. Because I think that's the biggest thing that's going on in the elections world, that there's not trust. People don't believe in the election process like they used to. So it gives me joy. Like I say, we just finished our audit and it was 100%. So that tells me we're doing our job as we should.
And I also want to know, do you think when people don't vote but then complain about the way the person that got elected is running things, do you think that the fact that they're mad is their own fault?
Yes. Yes, because like I say, you should, that's why you vote, to have a voice in it, so, some people feel like, I'm not voting because it's not going to make a difference. It makes a difference. It does make a difference.
So,
Go ahead.
so hypothetically, what if like it was two candidates that like had, and another candidate only had like one person, like one extra vote? Would that person win?
So you got two candidates you're saying on the ballot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that person had over the 50%, you're saying?
Like just one singular voter, like a person, and like would they have to go in a runoff, or like that person will automatically win?
The only way we'll go into a runoff if nobody receives over 50% of the votes. So that's
Okay.
the only way we'll go into a runoff.
Oh, okay.
So now, like, if they got like 50, 51, and the other person got 49, that person won.
Okay.
Oh, even when
makes
it's that
sense.
close, just that 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
sir.
Yes.
1% always
Yes,
makes
sir.
a difference.
It does. That's why I said that one vote matters. You know, when people think, doing, oh, my vote don't count. Your one vote could have been that vote that made the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into doing your job as someone as you're working in the runoff election process?
What do I do now?
Yeah, like how do you go about it? Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, you know, skip my question. Somebody else go, because I just messed up my words. I gotta think about what I said.
Okay. What message would you like to share with voters ahead of the next election?
What I would like to share, is this my final comment?
Oh, no.
Okay. So what would I like to share?
Yes.
Basically, you know, just like I say, just make sure that, you know, I would like to, you know, get a bigger turnout for the runoff, you know, and that hopefully everybody will come out and participate, you know, and this, you know, get that 33% plus participation, so that, you know, that your voice can be heard for this runoff.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be right back after a quick run of commercials. I didn't always think I'd make it to high school, but programs like the ACC High School Completion Initiative helped me stay on track. Now imagine helping students like me just by grocery shopping. With your Kroger Plus card, you can link to ACC High School Completion Initiative, Inc. through Community Rewards. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps provide support, resources, and a second chance. So next time you shop, know you're doing more than buying groceries. You're helping someone reach graduation.
Hi, I'm Keisha V. Rouse, owner of Crowning Tier Group. I know how overwhelming finances can feel, especially when you're trying to grow a business or manage it all on your own. That's why we offer bookkeeping, tax strategy, and real support year-round. We're not just number crunchers, we're partners in your success. Visit CrowningTierGroup.com or call 706-705-1644 to schedule your free consultation. Or feel free to drop by our office at 29 North Main Street, Suite 3, Watkinsville, Georgia, 30677.
Athens, Clarke County is one of the most food insecure communities in Georgia. Every night, thousands of Athenians, both young and old, go to bed lacking sufficient amounts of quality and nutritious food. It's a tragedy being addressed by the nonprofit organization Feed My Sheep Ltd. Once a week, the members of Feed My Sheep Ltd. deliver food to the homes of people in need. If you or someone you know is in need of quality nutrition, call Feed My Sheep Ltd. at 706-850-6499. That's 706-850-6499. Feed My Sheep Ltd. It's more than serving food, it's serving God.
Stop scrolling. This takes 30 seconds. Open your Kroger app, search A-CC High School Completion Initiatives Incorporated, and hit enroll. That's it. You shop, we educate. Make your groceries count.
You're still here with Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. My name is Aiden Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Rattery,
Nivea Hood,
And Aiden Dowdy.
Today on Education Matters, we will still be discussing the election and runoff processes with our guest, Ms. Pamela Long. But before we jump back into today's discussion, I will give us our Scholarship of the Week. The Scholarship of the Week is the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. The eligibility requirements for this scholarship are high school seniors, undergraduate students, or graduate students. You must plan to attend or currently attend a historically black college or university, or HBCU, or a TMCF member school. The minimum GPA requirements may vary by the scholarship opportunity. The process. Students must create an online profile through the TMCF scholarship portal and submit required documents, which may include transcripts, essays, and letters of recommendation. The deadline. Deadlines vary throughout the year depending on the scholarship. Students should check the TMCF website regularly for current opportunities. How to apply. Visit the TMCF scholarship portal at scholarships.tmcf.org. Complete the application, upload required materials, and apply for scholarships that match your qualifications. That was your Scholarship of the Week.
So, Ms. Long, I wanted to ask a little bit of a personal question because this is a question that I just wanted to know, me personally. As someone who works in the election process, do you think that the way people go about like electing other people can be seen differently depending on your Democratic Party? Please let me know if you need me to simplify that.
Simplify that, or
Okay.
give me an example.
Like, let's say, trying to think of a good example for this. Like, as when I say that, I mean, like, do you think that, let's say I was a Republican, which I'm not, and I voted for someone who's a Democrat, do you think, depending on who's looking at it through their perspective, they can be seen in a bad way?
Some people may look at it that way. What I like to tell people is you need to vote on what's going to make a difference for you. You know, so it may be a Republican who shares your view. So you may vote for the Republican person. It may be the Democrat person next time. So I would just really listen to see what the person can do to make sure that it's going to benefit you in your future and where you want the outcome to be for your community.
Okay, so speaking of Republican and Democrat, so in the primary, say you're voting for a mayor and then you're voting for a commissioner. Can you vote for a Democrat mayor and a Republican commissioner?
The local parties that are going to be on this ballot, they're all nonpartisan, which means they are not connected to no party. They're not connected to Republican or Democratic.
Okay.
They basically stand on their own.
Okay.
And how are election workers trained to maintain fairness and impartiality?
Say that again now.
How are election workers trained to maintain fairness and impartiality?
Basically, that's even with our office. We have to always show a nonpartisan view, which means that we can't talk about our political beliefs, whether like if I'm, however I feel, if I'm a Republican or if I'm a Democrat, I can't really speak on that. And we have people that come into the office sometimes and, when they're registering to vote, they may make some type of political comment where they're wanting to say, that's why, I'm voting this way, I'm voting that way. Most of the time we just have to listen. We can't comment, or show our opinion of how we feel about anything to that reference.
And I know there are multiple elections. I know there's the primary election, the runoff election, and those are the only two I know. So what are the rest?
The risk?
The rest.
Oh, the rest. Basically, you have the primary election. So the primary election is when you have all the candidates that's when you're going to choose a party for this. In the primary election, you can choose, like you say, nonpartisan, Democratic, or you can choose a Republican ticket. And that's when you're going to decide the two top candidates who you want to see on the ballot for November. And November is the general election. That means that the candidates that you chose for the Democratic and for the Republicans will be on one ballot, and out of those, the winner will be the person who's going to take that office. And then you also have what we call the general nonpartisan election, and that's the local election of what we're having now. And that's like now we're choosing like who's going to be our new mayor and who's going to be our new commissioners for the odd seats, which means like the Commission 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. We're choosing those, as well as for the Board of Education, the odd districts for those. The next time it'll be even. So when you hear them say odd or even, that's what they're doing.
And why is it that y'all only vote on the odd ones and not just both?
Because the terms run 4 years, so I think that comes from legislation. I think that's something that they decide, or from the Secretary of State, that they want to have the odd seats to be voted on for this term, and then the even ones will be voted on for the next term.
And also, I know you mentioned like you pick which party. So once you pick your party, do you have to stay with that party throughout all of your elections, or can you change up?
No, we only do parties for the primary. We don't do them for any other election. We're not a what's the word I want to say? We don't choose a party when you register to vote. We only choose a party when we're doing the primary elections. And there was another part you said to that I missed. I know.
That was it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
What is the most common concerns voters come to your office with?
Just making sure that they're still registered and making sure that they are registered in the right place.
Okay, following up to that, what feedback have they actually given you?
Repeat the question.
What feedback have they given you?
Basically, they just want to make sure that they are still registered.
Oh, okay.
You know, because like I said, there's a lot of inaccurate information that goes out to the community, where they hear things on the news, where newscasters are saying certain things happen. So they'll call the office and they're wanting to confirm whether or not, you know, what they're hearing on the news is true.
Oh, that makes sense.
And also, what safeguard? Oh wait, no, I already asked that question. I forgot to mark it off. What parts, when it comes to elections, do most people forget that runs with y'all's job?
With our job,
Yeah.
the poll workers forget nothing.
Really?
No, nothing. Because basically, before each election, we provide training, you know, to our poll workers, and then also we do like manuals that we have that they take with them. So if it's some kind of scenario will come up, you know, if this happened, then they can go to the handbook to see what I need to do for this particular scenario.
Okay.
And anybody can be a poll worker, correct?
Yes.
How can they do
What
that?
are the ages for that? I'm sorry, Eddie.
Oh, you're good.
You could be a poll worker starting at the age of 16.
Okay.
How can you apply to be one?
You have to go on the line. You have to go on the website when we post the application up for poll workers and apply. And then what we'll do is we will give you a telephone interview, and you will become a poll worker.
Oh, wow.
It's
Oh,
just
that's
that
cute.
simple.
How much do they make?
It depends on which position you get. The coordinators, which are called the managers, I think they make 17, 19. The poll clerks, they make 15, 60. And then the assistant manager makes, I believe, 17, 16.
Is this a
So
year or
maybe
like
that's
monthly?
Is
encouraging.
this like,
Year or
are we talking about
monthly?
K or
Per hour.
dollars?
Oh, per
Oh,
hour.
okay.
Oh, okay.
I thought you meant they was making that like either in a year
So they
or a
make
month.
$17.16 an hour.
Oh,
So between
okay.
$15 and $17 an hour of what poll workers make.
Okay, that's not.
Oh, that's not bad.
And usually that's a like 12 to 14-hour day, starting at like 5 o'clock in the morning till maybe potentially 8 or 9 o'clock that night.
That's definitely worth it. I definitely do.
That's
recommend that.
I don't know if we hit this or not, but like, how long is the runoff typically? Like the process, like how many days is it?
We have a week of advance voting that goes on, and then you have the actual election day for the runoff.
Okay, and then with that, what factors do you believe influence voters' participation this year?
The issues, who's actually running.
Like, as in the issues for where the person that's running for it is. Wait, hold on.
Basically, like this, like we had on we had a question on this ballot for the primary, which is we call it T-SPLOST, which is a transportation tax. So basically, it's asking the people, do they want to continue to, take so much of their tax dollars to be put into this account, to help for transportation and roads and those needs. And so you can either vote, yes, I want that to happen, or no, I do not want that to happen. So it depends on the majority of the votes, which it was yes. So they will be having some money for roads and transportation.
It is needed.
Yes, it is.
And how does turnout in this election compare to the previous local elections?
This election, it was, believe it or not, better than the last election that we had for the primary election.
Actually, I could believe that because when me and my mom, we was driving downtown Athens, and when it was early voting, everybody lines up last minute. So it's 4 o'clock. You got a whole line stretching all the way up the street.
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually believe that.
And I have a question about election day. So say you're at the poll, you're there, you're casting your vote. What if somebody has a question about what's on the ballot? Can they ask a poll worker?
Yes,
or they not allowed?
They can ask the question, but like I say, we can't advise of what answer to give, but they can ask a question. Like an example, like I say, if it was about the T-SPLOST, like they might want to know what that is. We can explain what that is, but we can't, like you say, I wouldn't do this, or yes, vote on that, or no, so vote on that.
So you would have to give them like an indirect answer.
A very indirect, non-partisan answer.
Okay. And one last question before we go on break. Do you feel as though that that older generations care less than younger generations do when it comes to voting?
Ooh. I feel that the older generation cares a little more than the younger generation
Really?
do right now.
Yeah, I agree with you totally.
I agree.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I just, even from observation of this election, just from advance voting, when the voters were coming in, there were a lot of senior citizens that were coming out. I mean, people in, coming, with, needing assistance to come to vote, they were coming to vote. So, I mean, we're really trying to encourage, we go to the university and, we encourage them, to come out and vote as well. But again, with that choice, we make them make sure that we advise them to vote where they feel like their vote will count. If they're in college here and they live in another county, if they feel like the views of what is going on in that particular county are more important than what's going on here in Athens, Clarke County, vote at your home. Vote at home. If not, if you feel like what's going on in Athens, Clarke County is more important, vote in Athens, Clarke County. But you have to make sure you're registered, where you're going to vote. So if you feel like the views here are better and you registered in Gwinnett, you'll need to register in Athens, Clarke County to be able to vote for that particular.
Okay.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be right back after a quick run of commercials.
This is Juice Arabia with an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Judge Free Athens. Myth: I can drink alcohol and not have any problems. Fact: if you are under 21 years old, alcohol is a big problem. It is illegal. Kids who drink are more likely to get poor grades in school and are at higher risk of being crime victims. That was an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug Free Athens. For more information on preventing youth substance abuse, go to drugfreeathens.org.
Let me show you how easy it is to give back. Open the Kroger app, tap the menu, go to rewards, then community rewards. Search for ACC High School Completion Initiative, Inc., and hit enroll. That's it. Now every time you use your Kroger Plus card, a portion goes towards helping local students finish high school. No extra cost, no extra effort, just real impact.
Studio 6.9 Media Camp, where the next generation of storytellers get started. This summer, Studio 6.9 Media Camp is calling all curious, creative youth in grades 6 through 9 to step into the world of real journalism. Print, photography, audio production, sound engineering. You'll learn it all. You'll even take a field trip to Montgomery, touring Alabama State University and the powerful Legacy Museum. Studio 6.9 runs Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Calvary Bible Church on Tallahassee Road, wrapping up on July 23rd. Brought to you by the ACC High School Completion Initiative, because your voice deserves to be heard. Apply online today at www.acchsci.org. Studio 6.9 Media Camp. Tell the world. I didn't always think I'd make it to high school, but programs like the ACC High School Completion Initiative helped me stay on track. Now imagine helping students like me just by grocery shopping. With your Kroger Plus card, you can link to ACC High School Completion Initiative, Inc. through Community Rewards. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps provide support, resources, and a second chance. So next time you shop, know you're doing more than buying groceries. You're helping someone reach graduation. You're still here with Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. My name is Aiden Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Ryder,
Nivea Hood,
And Aiden Dowdy.
Today on Education Matters, we will still be discussing the election and runoff processes with our guest, Ms. Pamela Long. But before we jump back into today's discussion, Aiden will give us our 2-year health fact.
Your 2-year health fact is sponsored by the Foot and Ankle Treatment Center. Your heart works around the clock, pumping blood and oxygen throughout your body. One of the easiest ways to support a healthy circulatory system is by staying hydrated. Water helps maintain healthy blood flow, regulates body temperature, and assists your organs in functioning properly. Health experts recommend drinking water consistently throughout the day, especially during hot weather and physical activities. Limiting sugary drinks and choosing water more often can benefit your heart and overall wellness. Remember, healthy habits today can help protect your heart for years to come. And that was your 2-year health fact, sponsored by the Foot and Ankle Treatment Center.
Okay, so Ms. Long, what offices and who are the candidates in the runoff right now?
Okay, the offices that would be on the runoff for Athens Clarke County would be our mayor seats, and running for those offices are Tim Denson and Dexter Fisher. And then we also have the county commission seat, District 5, and that Kimberly Bennett and Craig Topple are the candidates that will be running for that. And then also Commission District 9, we will have Tracy Smith and we will have Ovita Thornton, who is already the running to already is the active commissioner, which we call the incumbent.
And I wanted to ask you, what happens if in the runoff they don't get the 50% plus one again?
Would you have a runoff?
Yes, we have a runoff until we get that 50% plus vote. Yes, it'll still be the same.
That would be funny.
But
Have you ever had a runoff?
No.
Oh wow.
Okay.
No.
So
We're just gonna hope that doesn't happen.
We hope that doesn't
runoff.
happen.
Are there any changes you would like to see that can improve the election process in the future?
Good question. That's a good question. What would I like to see that could be better? Again, I think it falls back to, just, people trusting the election process and people really getting involved. You hear, like you said, a lot of people that don't, like you said, they don't vote and they get upset with the outcome. But they really need to get more involved. I would like to see more people participating and that our voter turnout increase.
Wonderful.
So, with that, do you think there is a way to obtain that goal?
We would have to get out, and educate the people. Yes.
Okay, so how would you get out to people in UGA? So
how would we get out to the people at the University of Georgia?
Yeah.
yes.
We actually do have a committee, a group of people that we work with at the University of Georgia, and we go over and we, talk to them and, let them know about the voting process and, like I said, basically, get them to understand, like, where to vote, when to vote, and how to vote, because some people feel like, you can just go anywhere to vote, when it's time to vote. Like I said, no, you can't. You have to vote where you are registered at. So if they're registered here in Athens, Clarke County, they can vote in Athens, Clarke County. If, they're voted, registered to vote in another county, then they have to vote in the county that they're registered in. If they can't make it home in time, to go vote, they can get an absentee ballot. So, they can also request for an absentee ballot. It's not only just catered, because a lot of people think they're catered to most people who, who can't make it to the polls, but anybody that, can't make it to the polls, you can request for an absentee ballot. You just have to make sure you have your ballot turned back in by the election day by 7 o'clock that night at the election office.
And can you remind us how you can get an absentee ballot?
Yes, you can come to the office down at 155 East Washington. You can get an application there, or you can go online to the Georgia My Voters page and you can request for an application there.
Okay, and you said stuff about them getting registered. What if they're not registered in time?
If they're not registered in time, they can't vote on that particular election. There are deadlines for each election that you have for at each election. So like we get a deadline. So after the next election, we will register them once they, what we call certify the election. That is when they feel like, all the ballots have been, counted and everything is good. The state certifies and say, okay, these are the people, they won, we verified the count, everything is finished. Once that's finished, then they let the state, everybody over the state of Georgia know, okay, now you can go in and you can register those people who registered too late. So then they can be able to vote in the November election.
Okay.
And once you register one time, you don't have to register again, correct?
You do not have to register again as long as you remain an active voter. You have to make sure you're participating in the elections.
Okay, and also as someone who cares a lot when it comes to voting and voters, what can you say to someone who feels as though voting is just not voting? Like voting is just not for them, or it's not going to benefit them.
I would, ask them, I guess, what is important to them, and see if, they have seen a difference in whatever they feel like, in the world that's important to them. And if, if it has not made a difference to them. And then if they feel like it hasn't, then that'll be that opportunity to say, especially if it's an issue that, like I say, the schools, the streets, the buildings, whatever you feel like that, you have an issue with. So, I can say, mention to them, did you take the time to vote? And, so you can be able to express that need so that that particular issue can be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's like early voting for like some elections. Is there early voting for a runoff?
Yes. It's 1 week of early voting because, like I say, you're on a time constraint when it comes to a runoff.
What's that week?
That'll be June the 8th, I believe. I got my notes too. I'm sorry. Okay, the dates for advance voting, they are June the 8th through June the 12th, and it starts at 8 o'clock. And we have 3 locations that will be open for advance voting: the election office downtown, the Athens Library, and then the tennis center on Lexington Road. And then on that Wednesday, we will be offering extended voting, where voting will end till 7 o'clock that night.
So with a runoff, the voting locations aren't at the normal places? Or is that just because school's out?
That's just advance in person. So like if people want to go vote early before the election day, they can go to any one of those 3 locations and vote. If they want to wait to the June 16th election day, then they have to go to their assigned polling location.
I also do want to know, what was the process to you getting your job? Like, what did you have to go through?
Me?
Yeah.
I started out as a poll worker.
Oh, really?
I did.
She did
she
say
said
that.
She said that.
I'm tripping?
Yeah, you tripping. You tripping.
Yeah, I started out as a poll worker.
That was like one of the first things.
That was like, I swear, I thought it was part of a different call.
We asked her.
I
asked her background, and she was like, she was a poll worker at first.
Oh, that is right. You right.
Yeah.
Ooh, wasn't listening to me.
My brain be
That was like one of the first questions, and he be getting on people about that.
Well, here on Education Matters, we ask all of our guests this essential question, and that question is, why does education matter to you?
You're asking me that?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm acting like Aiden, ain't I?
Yeah, real bad.
Education matters to me because, that's when people can be informed and they'll get the know-how. That's how education matters to me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. Education Matters is sponsored by Drug Free Athens, Ellison's Professional Services, and MeURadioAthens.com. If you missed any portion of this program or would like to hear it again, it can be heard Saturday at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., Monday at 5:30 p.m., or Tuesday at 10 a.m. on MeURadioAthens.com. You can also listen on demand at our YouTube channel, Education Matters Network. Education Matters is a production of the High School Completion Initiative.